Good evening. So we end one year and we start a new one. Happy New Year to you all and welcome back to the LA Cinema Film Quiz. We're rolling camera. I think we've got sound. Good evening. Action. Good evening all. Thanks for joining me this Friday evening. It feels like a Sunday evening to me for some reason. It just doesn't feel like a Friday night. For New Year's Day always feels a little bit strange to me. I don't know why. Good evening. Hope you're all well. First things first, I hope you all had a good Christmas. Let me know what you got up to a bit later on tonight's edition of the quiz. And Happy New Year to you all. We're now in 2021 and we're ready. It's 8:30 for another LA Cinema Film Quiz. So if you're here this evening, if it's maybe the first time you've joined us, or maybe you're a regular, introduce yourself on the live chat window we've got this evening. And yeah, I hope you enjoy tonight's quiz. In a minute, I'll just be telling you the lowdown and format for this evening's cinema quiz. And we'll also be announcing the topics. So it'd be 50 questions, the usual format each week, consisting of 5 film rounds. Answers will be revealed at the end as usual, and we'll tally up the scores and we'll see how you all got on. Hopefully top of the class for the first edition of 2021's Long Ashton Cinema Quiz. Got one person, Shirley. Evening. I hope you're well. Happy New Year to you. Thanks again, all of you, for your support. And we've got the maestro, a man with great cinema knowledge, Mr. Bassheart, joining us as well. So you all ready for tonight's topics? Here we go. A couple of hard rounds to warn you in the mix tonight. So here we go. Round number 1. Mr. Gorgeous George Clooney himself, a new film release on Netflix. We'll be discussing that a bit later. So round number 1, the Hollywood superstar George Clooney. Number 2, we're bringing back a suggestion from Mr. Pixel Arts himself, Mr. Jamie Gibbs, based in Bristol in the UK. Movie props is back again, a tricky little round. Number 3, something very topical and relevant. We're in a new year, a new calendar of film releases. We hope 2021 film releases, round number 3. Round number 4, I'd say our hardest round this evening, UK film censorship. And the final penultimate round, number 5, we're bringing back the gangster genre. Okay, so 5 rounds for tonight, the usual format. I hope you enjoy it. So first things first, I was going to talk a little bit about some festive things. I had a couple of DVD box sets given to me by my mum. She didn't have a clue what they were, but I said, I'd like these if you don't mind. So my first one, another release on Criterion, which I keep always recommending. It's an Indian trilogy of films by a prolific filmmaker. I've never seen any of his work, but I've heard they're great films, by Sanjay Ray. It's the Apu trilogy, with one film in particular that's highly rated called Panther Panchali. So they're a series of films I need to catch up on. I don't know if any of you have seen any of the Sanjay Ray's work, highly rated by Martin Scorsese, who's a big fan of his films. Another one was a recommendation from Mr. Bassheart, and I apologize that I've never ever seen an Abbas Kiarostami film. I've heard so much good things. People are constantly recommending his films, and Mr. Bassheart told me to go with this trilogy again on Criterion, called the Coca trilogy. Series of films. The first one is called Where's the Friend's House, released in 1987. Then we go on to And a Life Goes On. And the last one, Through the Olive Tree, released in the mid-90s in 1994. The other film I dug out this week, which I highly recommend, was a documentary film. I don't know if any of you have ever seen or picked up on this one. Very prolific documentary feature film by the director of The Fog of War. It is The Thin Blue Line, which I watched in the week. It was one of my highlights of my weekly watches. A brilliant film based on a crime incident of a man who was stopped by the police, who was purported to have shot a close blank range a police officer. The film's told as kind of a talking heads documentary with reenactment footage. And basically the film was so strongly made and so convincing that the man who'd been arrested and was facing the death penalty was finally released from prison, pretty much from the result of the making of this film on what happened that night. It's called The Thin Blue Line by the prolific documentary filmmaker Errol Morris. If you're able to pick this up, it's a fantastic film. Really, really highly recommend this one. And it's definitely influenced all the kind of murder documentaries we see, serials like Making a Murderer, all the stuff on Netflix. I would have thought this was one of the precursors for that. I'll be talking about more films I watched during the week briefly, and we've got some topics of conversation later on in the show. I'm going to ask later on your thoughts on George Clooney, not just as a mega movie star in Hollywood. He's been working in Hollywood for the best part of 2 or 3 decades. Your thoughts on him as a Hollywood star and a filmmaker. And we'll also be talking about banned films. So controversial films banned in the UK. Ones maybe you've seen, or be talking about that a bit later. So you ready for tonight's quiz, everyone? We'll go with round number 1. The only thing I'll mention is not to write the answers in the chat window because we'll see them. And if you need any repeated, not a problem at all. We'll shout them out at the end of the round. Here we go. Round number 1. Good luck, everyone. Is George Clooney. Here we go. Bikey Chick just joined us. Happy New Year to you. Hope you're well. Here we go. Round number 1. Gorgeous George Clooney. We're after 2 answers for this one. So we got 2 points on offer. Here we go. Name the new Netflix film which Clooney directs and stars. It follows a lonely scientist in the Arctic as he races to stop fellow astronauts from returning home to a global catastrophe. But, there's a but, an if and a but. For a bonus point, name the British female actress who plays astronaut Sully, who Clooney's character Augustine aids in the film. So question number 1, round 1. 2 points on offer, so 2 answers to question number 1. Here we go again. So name the new Netflix film that Clooney stars and directs. It follows a lonely scientist in the Arctic as he races to stop fellow astronauts from returning home to a global catastrophe. But for the bonus point, name the British female actress who plays astronaut Sully, who Clooney's character Augustine aids in the film. That is number 1. Number 2, we go on to Clooney behind the camera as the director. But number 2, name the Oscar-nominated film Clooney directed in 2005 about broadcast journalist Edward R. Murrow, who looked to bring down Senator Joseph McCarthy in the 1950s. This was a film I absolutely loved at the time when I saw this at the cinema. One of my favorite films from that year. But name the Oscar-nominated film Clooney directed in 2005 about broadcast journalist Edward R. Murrow, who looked to bring down Senator Joseph McCarthy in the 1950s. A quick swig of the old water. Round number one on George Clooney. Here we go. Number three. Awards now. Clooney won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role as a CIA operative, Bob Barnes, in which 2005 film? So two Clooney films released in 2005, both up for awards for Best Director and Best Supporting Actor, but he won the Best Supporting Actor gong for his role as a CIA operative. His name Bob Barnes, in which 2005 film? We move on to number four. I'm looking for the name of a director. So a filmmaker, the answer for this one. Okay. Clooney had an on-set altercation with which American director on the 1999 war movie Three Kings, which is set during the aftermath of the Persian Gulf War. Apparently they had a big falling out on set. I think Clooney's vowed never to work with the director again. The director does have a reputation, I believe. But here's the question again. Clooney had an on-set altercation with which American director on the 1999 war movie Three Kings? That is question 4. Halfway through the round, we all like a bit of New Year's romance. So here's a romantic drama from the 90s. Name the American actress who plays Clooney's love interest in the 1996 romantic comedy One Fine Day, about two strangers and their children whose lives intersect on one hectic day in New York City. So I'm looking for this question for Clooney's female co-star in the romantic comedy One Fine Day, released in 1996. That's question number 5. Here's a question thrown in for Mr. Baysart. This will put a little smile on his face. He likes a B movie. Here we go with number 6. Back to the 1980s. Clooney starred in which 1987 B movie horror comedy about a professor developing a vegetable to turn into human form for a second invasion? So Second Invasion, this is obviously a sequel from 1987. God, I was only 6. It's a horror comedy, B-movie horror comedy about a professor developing a vegetable to turn into human form for a second invasion. But tell me the name of this B movie. Never seen this one. I don't know if I want to see it. Yeah, I knew the answer as soon as I said B movie. Too big a clue. Here we go. Now we go from film to television. George Clooney appeared in 107 episodes of the popular US series ER, which was broadcast from 1994 to 2009. But name the character Clooney plays. Tricky question, but obviously if you watch the series, you're an ER fan, you'd obviously know the answer to this one. I wouldn't have the foggiest idea. Never seen one episode. Number 7, George Clooney appeared in 107 episodes of the popular American series ER. It broadcast from 94 to 2009. But name the character Clooney plays. Number 8, a little bit more up to date with 2009. Name the Clooney romantic comedy from 2009, directed by Jason Reitman. Clooney plays Ryan Bingham, a man who enjoys living out a suitcase and traveling around the country firing people. However, his life is threatened when he finds a potential love interest and a new hire presenting a new business model. So I'm looking for the name of a film for Question 8, it's a romantic comedy with Clooney at the helm. It's directed by Jason Reitman. Clooney plays Ryan Bingham, a man who enjoys living out a suitcase, traveling around the country and firing people. However, his life is threatened when he finds a potential love interest and a new hire presenting a business model. But tell me, the name of the film came out 2009. 2 questions to go in this round for round number 1, first quiz of 2021. So question 9, I'm looking for a couple of answers. I'm looking for a number, then I'm looking for the films. Here we go. Clooney has worked with the Coen brothers on how many occasions? So I need a number and name all the films. So I'm looking for a number. How many films has Clooney made in collaboration with the brilliant Coen brothers? And I want you to tell me the names of all the films. That's number 9. You'll also have to let me know what you all got up to for New Year. I'd imagine most of us or all of us were housebound at the moment. I was actually going up to bed quite early, and then the whole neighborhood seemed to come alive. I could hear blasting out of a radio D-Ream with that 1990s track, Things Can Only Get Better. It reminded me of the New Labour years. They kind of used that as their anthem back in the day. Things can only get better. I won't sing it. Here we go. Number 10, last question of the round. Really hard question, this one. Name George Clooney's current wife. She specializes in international law and human rights. She was born in 1978. So we delve into George Clooney's personal life. Feel like a tabloid journalist now, but I want you to tell me George Clooney's current wife. Who is he married to? She's an international lawyer and human rights, and she was born in 1978. That's the last one of the round. Are you all George Clooney fans? Do you like the actor? I shouldn't say an actor, an all-round talent, producer, a bit of writing, I think, and a director as well. How did you fare with your George Clooney films? And does anyone tonight need any of these repeating? If so, let me know what question. Bikey Chick's put in a big love there. She likes Gorgeous George. Yeah, he's certainly very charismatic. Talent, interesting guy. I always think, always seems quite level-headed when he's interviewed and knowledgeable on a lot of subjects. He's quite political, a bit like Redford, interested in political history in America. Good in front of the camera, not so great behind it. I agree with you on that one. There's one film I really do rate, but I think since that film, I think it's all gone a little bit downhill. How did everyone get on with this round? Any predicted scores? You confident, top of the class tonight, or maybe down at the bottom? Or are you suffering from a hangover from last night's drinking session? That's if you delved into a bit of drinking. Mr. Baysart, always good on his film, his knowledge. A 10 would be a good score, 10-ish. We'll move on in just a minute to our second round tonight, which is movie props. We're bringing that one back. It's always a tricky round. I have to think quite hard on some of these. So here we go. You all ready for round number 2? If anyone does need any repeating, just let me know and I can shout them back out. Not a problem at all. It's all a little bit quiet in the room tonight. I hope you're all well. Hope you're not suffering too badly with a hangover. I had a bad one a couple of nights before, mixing the gin and the cider. Not good. Shirley saying a 6. Predicted score. Okay, we'll move on to the movie props, which is round number 2. So I'm going to give you a kind of a description of a prop in a film with a little bit of a clue, maybe a year, maybe a specific character. And all you need to do is tell me the prop, what film it was used in. They're always kind of iconic movie props in a particular scene or sequence. So here we go. We're going back to the 1920s. You're probably saying, oh no. Number one, I'm looking for a boiled leather boot from a famous 1925 black and white comedy directed and starring an iconic movie character. So this movie star or persona is so famous in film, iconic, but the prop is a boiled leather boot from a famous 1925 black and white comedy, and it's directed and starring an iconic movie figure. But tell me, what film was it used in from 1925? Number two, easier. We're going to move on 30 years to the 50s, early 1950s. But I'm looking, the prop is an umbrella, keep you from getting wet, from a famous dance sequence from a much loved and celebrated Hollywood musical from 1952. Bit of a simpler one now was number two. I'm looking for an umbrella from a famous dance sequence from a much loved and celebrated Hollywood musical from 1952. What film? Number three now. Jay Gibbs there. He's the man that came up with this round. The movie props. Nice little round. So thanks to Jamie. Happy New Year. Here we go. Number three. Moses Stone tablets from an epic adventure drama which starred Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. So that's number three. Moses' stone tablets from an epic adventure drama which starred Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. A bit of useless information. I've only ever met one Hollywood star, and funny enough, it was Charlton Heston. Long time ago, I was about 16. He was starring in a play in Bath, and he wasn't the easiest of personalities, but that's for another time. Number four, the prop is a shotgun microphone. So a shotgun microphone from an acclaimed Brian De Palma movie starring John Travolta from 1981. So 1981, the year I was born. So 40 this year for my sins. Never seen this film, but the prop is a shotgun microphone from a Brian De Palma movie starring John Travolta from 1981. What is that film? Somebody just introduced themselves, Mr. Harlequin. Good evening, sir. And Amanda as well. Hope you're both well. Hope you're keeping well. Happy New Year to you both. Number five, the prop is an identity disc from a science fiction adventure about a computer hacker abducted in a digital world. I think you'll all get that one, or should do. So we move to the 80s, early 1980s. The prop is an identity disc from a science fiction adventure film about a computer hacker abducted into a digital world. Excuse me. Number six, maybe a little bit more tricky. We move from the 80s to the 90s, 1994. Here's the prop. It's a Raquel Welch movie poster. I think most of us men would like that on our wall, from an acclaimed prison drama from 1994. So number six, a Raquel Welch movie poster from an acclaimed prison drama released in 1994. Four more to go. Round number two is movie props. Here we go. Number seven, Little bit more tricky, this one. Famous film, though. A New York Herald Tribune t-shirt from a classic French New Wave movie from 1960. You can give me the English title or the French one. Probably the most famous and iconic French New Wave film. But the prop is a New York Herald Tribune t-shirt from a classic French New Wave movie from 1960. What do they call it? The Nouvelle Vague. Excuse my pronunciation. Number 8, we're going for another film, a French film. This one may be a bit more commercial. Here's the prop. It's a traveling garden gnome from a much-loved French romantic comedy from 2001 and directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. A lot of people say what a good film this one is. I've not seen it. But here's the prop again, number 8. A traveling garden gnome from a French romantic comedy from 2001, and it's directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. 2 more to go. Hollywood film now, 1988. Here's the prop. Zoltar Speaks Wish-Granting Machine from a loved 1988 comedy drama. You'll all probably remember this one. Here we go again. Question 9. The prop is Zoltar Speaks Wish-Granting Machine from a loved 1988 comedy drama. And the last one, I think this is one of Mr. Basshart's favourite films. There's a clue for him. And I'm sure he'll get this one. Here we go. A spaghetti straining tennis racket from a classic comedy film, which won the Best Picture Oscar in 1961. So we go from 1988 back down to 1961. But here's the prop. It's a spaghetti straining tennis racket from a classic comedy film, and it won the Best Picture Oscar in 1961. But what film was it? That's all 10. We're already through. We've done round number 2. It was the old movie props back again. Tricky round that. How do you think you got on with that one? And let me know if you need any repeating at all. If you do, just let me know. And before we move on to round number 3 tonight, I'm going to tell you about another film I watched during the festive season. It's not a festive film, but another film watched last week. See if you've seen it. See about what you think of it. This one is being on critics' best polls of the year. I quite frankly don't understand why. I was very underwhelmed by it, but I'll reveal what the film was in just a minute. Mr. Basehart thinks he's got top marks. He knows his films, that man. If you need any repeating as well, do let me know. Just shout out the question number and I can read them back. Not a problem at all. I do like this movie props. I got to be honest. It's a nice little round. Nice little filler for this evening. It's a tricky one. There's some tricky ones in there. But there's some clues, obviously, to help you out as well. Okay, so we'll go with the film I watched, the second film tonight. See if you've seen it. Bikey Chick, quite confident with an 8. If score of 8 would be pretty good. Okay, so another film I watched during the Christmas period was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, directed by George C. Wolfe. It stars the always excellent Viola Davis and sadly the late actor Chadwick Boseman, who obviously was in the popular film, the box office smash, The Black Panther. Here's a little synopsis, if you've not heard of this film. Ma Rainey's a famous blues singer, set in Chicago, 1927. A recording session. Tensions rise between Ma Rainey, her ambitious horn player, and the white management determined to control the uncontrollable mother of the blues. And it's based on August Wilson's award-winning play. So this is a Netflix film. It was funded and distributed straight to Netflix. May have got a limited cinema release, but that's tricky at the moment with cinema closures. This is coming up on a lot of critics' best film polls, and I was really disappointed with this film. Generally, because I'm big into the blues, I would have literally liked to have seen a film that was a little bit more balanced as a biopic, and these tensions between the band member. I would have liked to have found out more about the character of Ma Rainey, who she was, her background, how she became a singer, and so on. For me, it was not character driven at all. In fairness, it is adapted from a play, a very famous and a very acclaimed play. The performances were excellent. I'm sure both Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman will be Oscar, BAFTA, and Golden Globe nominated. Chadwick may even pick up a Best Supporting Actor Oscar or whatever category he might be nominated in. For me, I just felt the story didn't really go anywhere. I kind of expected a little bit more between this kind of creative ego rivalry between Ma Rainey and the ambitious young horn player. It was more friction between him and the band members as such. So overall, I didn't think this film delivered as much as it could have. The set design is very, very good. The creation of the 1920s period with costumes and locations is excellent. But the film overall, I think, is a little bit of a letdown. As a blues aficionado and fan, I would have liked to have seen a bit more depth and detail on these characters. Has anyone seen this film, and what do they think of it? If they have, you probably disagree with me on this one. Bossman learned the trumpet for the role. That's interesting. A bit like De Niro did learning the saxophone for New York, New York, Scorsese film. I was a little bit underwhelmed by this one, sadly. Good performances, though. I'll talk about the next two films I watched a bit later. The second film was, again, another disappointment for me, but I'll reveal that. But the third film that I'll reveal later, I would put on my best films list for 2020. Or is it a film 2021? I'll reveal a bit later. Biker Chick saying it's on the list but hasn't seen it. Do watch it and let me know your thoughts. You probably disagree with me. A lot of critics are putting it as one of the top films of the year. I just felt I needed to get a bit more out of this film. Here we go. You ready for round number 3? We've got films released this year in 2021. Fingers crossed they will be released. If they're not released theatrically in cinemas, they'll obviously feature on all the streaming channels, I'd imagine. So you've got 10 questions on films released this year. We start the year January the 1st, 2021 films. Here we go. Number 1. Which long-awaited comedy sequel sees the African monarch Akeem learn he had a long-lost son in the United States and must return to meet his unexpected heir and build a relationship with his son? It's number 1. We're round 3. So question number 1 again. I'm looking for a long-awaited comedy sequel. It sees the African monarch Akeem learn he has a long-lost son in the United States and must return to meet his unexpected heir and build a relationship with his son. I think this one's due for release in March, and I think it's going straight to streaming channels. I don't know if it's bypassing a cinema release. Number 2, there's 2 answers to this one, 2 points on offer. I'm looking for 2 answers. Here we go. Name the new release date for the latest James Bond film, No Time to Die. And for the bonus point, name the Oscar-winning actor who plays Bond villain Safin. Always a tricky one, dates, but this film's been postponed twice, I think now. Supposed to be released April last year, got moved to November last year, and now it's been moved again. But name the new release date for the latest James Bond film, No Time to Die. And my second question for the bonus point, name the Oscar-winning actor who plays Bond villain Safin. That's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to give you a synopsis of a film released this year. Highly anticipated, getting some very good reviews. Here it is. Which highly anticipated 2021 release stars Frances McDormand and is directed by Chloe Zhao? It's about a woman who embarks on a journey through the American West after losing everything during the Great Recession, living as a van-dwelling person on the move from place to place. This one, I think, hotly tipped award season. Going to be nominated in various categories, I'd imagine. But here's the question again. Which highly anticipated 2021 release stars Frances McDormand and is directed by Chloe Zhao? It's about a woman who embarks on a journey through the American West after losing everything during the Great Recession, living as a van-dwelling person on the move from place to place. We're going to move from this one to some horror now. Here we go. Number 4. Emily Blunt's husband directs the anticipated sequel, A Quiet Place 2, which is released in April. But who is he? So another film that was due for release last year and had a new release date. Here we go with a question again. So Emily Blunt's husband directs the anticipated sequel, A Quiet Place 2, which is released in April. But who is he? It's number 4. Halfway through the round is a Hollywood one. 2021 releases. Here we go. Name the actor who reprises his role as the Iceman in July's release of the long-awaited sequel, Top Gun Maverick. So number 5 again, I want you to tell me the actor who reprises his role as the Iceman in July's release of the long-awaited sequel, Top Gun Maverick. So yeah, for this one, I'm looking for the actor's name for the Top Gun sequel. Working title's Top Gun Maverick. Okay, the next one, number 6. Name the forthcoming Disney summer blockbuster based on a theme park ride, which co-stars Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson. It's about a small riverboat taking a group of travelers through a jungle filled with dangerous animals, reptiles, and a supernatural element. So yeah, we're round 3. This one is question number 6. Here we go. Name the forthcoming Disney summer blockbuster based on a theme park ride. It co-stars Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson. It's about a small riverboat taking a group of travelers through a jungle filled with dangerous animals, reptiles, and a supernatural element. But tell me the name of this film. Due for release in the summer. Number 7, go from a title of a film. Now I'm looking for an actress. Number 7. Name the Oscar-winning actress who will play soul legend Aretha Franklin in the August released biopic Respect. Number 7 again. a film on one of the great soul legends with an incredible voice and pedigree. But tell me, the Academy Award winning actress who will play soul legend Aretha Franklin for an August released biopic, Respect. Who is she? Name the actress. Number 8 now, Denis Villeneuve, the director. Very prolific, going through a purple patch at the moment. But Denis Villeneuve's Dune will be released in October, and it's adapted from Frank Herbert's sci-fi novel and David Lynch's film adaptation. But tell me, which year was Lynch's original film version released? Never seen Lynch's film version of this. Big Lynch fan, but never sat through it. Another film on my list, my lockdown list. Here we go, number 8 again. Couple more left for this round. Denis Villeneuve's Dune will be released in October and is adapted from Frank Herbert's science fiction novel and David Lynch's film adaptation. But tell me, which year was Lynch's original film version released? Questions 9 and 10, 2 to go. Now we move on to the horror genre. Here we go. The saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode continues, in the next chapter of the Halloween series. But tell me the name of its title. So I'm looking for the name of the working title of a film released in 2021. And it's the saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode continues in the next chapter of the Halloween franchise. But tell me the name of the title. We move from a horror film and now looking for a director, filmmaker's name for number 10. Here we go. An anticipated documentary on the Beatles featuring in-studio footage shot in early 1969 for the 1970 feature Let It Be is directed by which acclaimed filmmaker? A lot of anticipation for fans of the Fab Four with this one, but here's my question. Number 10. An anticipated documentary on the Beatles featuring in-studio footage shot in early 1969 for the 1970 feature Let It Be is directed by which acclaimed filmmaker? Okay, we're through round number 3. It was 10 questions. Let me know if you need any of these repeated. These were films released this year, with the first day of the year, a new year, the end of an old year, the start of a new one. Any of you need any repeating for round number 3? Let me know, and let me know how you got on. Are you looking forward to any of these releases for this year? There's a lot of films on the calendar, mainly down to postponements due to the ongoing pandemic, obviously. Let me know how you fared with your films released for this year. And then we'll move on to round number 4, the hardest round, I'd say, of tonight. We're going to be looking at the censorship. Your thoughts on that later. UK film censorship. Be round number 4. Let me know if you're ready or if you need any shouting out again. And then I'll be talking about 2 more films watched during the week, one of which I was disappointed and one I thought was outstandingly good. I'll reveal those in a moment. Here we go. Everybody ready for round number 4? UK film censorship tonight. It's all a little bit quiet in the room tonight. Hope you're all right. I wonder if you're having a drink, a quiet drink this evening. Tell me what you're drinking. Here we go, round number 4. Bikey Chick saying an 8. That would be a good score for this round. Here we go. UK film censorship. Here we go. Number 1. The UK film censorship body is called the BBFC. You probably all know that. But what does BBFC stand for? And which year was the organization founded by the film industry? So 2 points on offer for this. Sorry, 2 answers. I'm looking for a year. Tricky. I'm also looking for what BBFC stands for. So number 1 again. The UK film censorship body is called the BBFC. What does BBFC stand for? And which year was the organization founded by the film industry? So they're an independent body. They're not government regulated, totally independent. But what does BBFC stand for? Which year were they founded? Mr. Baseheart confident on that last round, saying a possible 8. Here we go. Number 2, round 4. A colloquial term in the UK was used to refer to films, typically low-budget horror and exploitation films distributed on videocassette and bypassing the BBFC. These films included Cannibal Apocalypse, The Driller Killer, and Zombie Flesh Eaters. But what was the term used to describe these films? So a term was coined in the 1980s. So number 2, a colloquial term in the UK was used to refer to films, typically low-budget horror and exploitation films, distributed on videocassette and bypassing the BBFC. These films included Cannibal Apocalypse, The Driller Killer, and Zombie Flesh Eaters. But what was the term used to describe these films? I know someone actually in the village who's been selling some of these films pre-certificated, and incredibly they're collector's items. He's been selling them anything from 150 quid to 200 pounds on eBay. Sold a Betamax version of a film, which I think was called The Executioner, for 150 quid. Crazy. Here we go. Number 3, one of my favorite films. Director Stanley Kubrick withdrew his film A Clockwork Orange from British release in 1973 due to receiving death threats and supposed copycat crimes. But in which year was the film eventually re-released in UK cinemas? So, number 3, director Stanley Kubrick withdrew his film A Clockwork Orange from British release in 1973 due to receiving death threats and supposed copycat crimes. But which year was the film eventually re-released in UK cinemas? It was withdrawn from UK and Ireland release for a long, long time. One cinema even got prosecuted. I think it was in the early 90s for screening it. It was the Scala in London. It eventually shut down. There's a big lawsuit. Number 4 now, film censorship. Which controversial Pasolini film was rejected by the BBFC in 1976 and is about corrupt Italian libertines in fascist Italy who kidnap 18 teenagers and subject them to extreme violence and sexual and psychological torture? An infamous film made by the Italian controversial filmmaker Pier Paolo Pasolini. It was rejected by the BBFC in 1976. It's about a group of corrupt Italian libertines in fascist Italy who kidnap 18 teenagers and subject them to extreme violence and psychological torture. Tell me the name of this film. We move on to number 5. Horror now. Here we go. Which famous cult horror movie was rejected by the BBFC in 1975, only to receive a cinema and eventual video release in 1999? So we move from an Italian film, an infamous film, to a horror genre film. But here's 5 again. Which famous cult horror movie was rejected by the BBFC in 1975, only to receive a cinema and eventual video release in 1999? Number 6, I'd say, is the trickiest question of the round. I'm looking for the name of an ex-BBFC director. But here's the question. Name the American television and theatre director who became the BBFC director from 1975 to 1999 and oversaw an extensive liberalisation of censorship standards in the UK. Quite a famous vocal person. It's always on a lot of film documentaries about censorship, about certain films that had received a lot of press and media attention due to their content. The number 6, name the American television and theatre director who became the BBFC director from 1975 to 1999. And he oversaw an extensive liberalisation of censorship standards in the UK. Okay, so we move on from a director of the BBFC. Now I'm looking for a film released in the 90s. Here we go. The VHS days. Number 7, round 4. Which controversial Oliver Stone film had its March 1996 video release cancelled due to the Dunblane massacre? The film was shown on Channel 5 in 1997 and released on video in 2001. I recall seeing this on Channel 5 when it was broadcast. First time I saw it, but it's a controversial film. It was going to be released on VHS in 1996 in March, but it was cancelled due to the Dunblane massacre. The film was broadcast on Channel 5 in 1997 and released on video in 2001. But what was the film? Number 7. 3 more to go on our round on UK film censorship. Here's number 8. Tricky one, this one. Name the act passed in 1984 by the British Parliament to state that commercial video recordings offered for sale or hire must carry a classification. So there was a time where films were being released on video with no classification at all. A law was passed in 1984 by the UK Parliament to state that commercial video recordings offered for sale or for hire must carry a classification. But tell me the name of the act or the law that was passed. Hard question, that one. Number 9, we're going to go back to horror, but I'm looking for the name of a horror sequel. Here we go. Number 9. Which horror sequel was initially banned by the BBFC in 2011 when the board refused a DVD release? It eventually received a release after cuts were made, and it was distributed by Eureka Entertainment. I hear this is kind of a sadistic, kind of gory and shocking horror sequel. I've not seen any of the films. I think 2 minutes of cuts were made. But which horror sequel was initially banned by the BBFC in 2011 when the board refused a DVD release? It eventually received a release after cuts were made, and it was distributed by Eureka Entertainment. What is the film? A little thing on the live chat. Amanda and I are finishing off the rosé champagne from last night. I wish I could join you. A nice champagne rosé on a Friday night on New Year's Day. Wasn't that a U2 song, New Year's Day? Quite a good song, in fairness. I'll have to put that on. Number 10. Wouldn't know this one at all. Tricky question, one of the hardest of the night. Who is the current director of the BBFC and was appointed in 2016? I think he also has an OBE or a title. But number 10, the last one of round number 4. Who is the current director of the BBFC? He was appointed back in 2016. UK film censorship, 10 questions. Toughest round, I'd say, of the night. If you need any repeating again, let me know. Just tell me which numbers. Not a problem whatsoever. And we'll move on to round number 5 in just a minute. What's your knowledge like on UK film censorship and the BBFC? Quite enjoyed doing that round, I must say. We'll call in some of those films, and a little bit of a topic later is a bit about film censorship. What films have you been shocked by that you've seen? And I've got something to show off as well a bit later regarding censorship. Yeah, Bikey Chick saying a hard round. It was a tricky round, that one. We'll move on to the penultimate round and the final 10 questions in just a minute. It's the gangster genre. 2 other films I watched this week, one of which will give away one of the answers, but I'll go ahead anyway. The last 2 films I watched this week, one a current one an older one going back 30 years to 1990. I saw in various lists on gangster movies, they highly rated The King of New York. I'd never seen. It's an Abel Ferrara film with Christopher Walken, David Caruso, Lawrence Fishburne, and Wesley Snipes in an early role. It's about a drug kingpin released from prison who seeks to take total control of the criminal underworld in order to give back to the community. I'd heard a lot about this film for years. I watched it a couple of nights ago on Amazon Prime, and I have to say I was really disappointed with this film. Despite reading various polls of what a great gangster film it was, really good performances. Christopher Walken is always good. Value for money, pure box office. He's excellent in this role, but I felt it hadn't stood up particularly well. It's 30 years old, in fairness. I felt the character's very cliched and stereotyped. So King of New York, I have to say, was another disappointment for me. Very underwhelmed by the film. But as a pickup, I watched the new Disney film Soul, featuring the voices of Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton, and Richard Ayoade, about a musician who's lost his passion for music and transported out of his body to find his way back with the help of an infant soul, learning about himself. I don't know if any of you have seen Soul. I really, really enjoyed this film. I couldn't believe it was a kid's film. It was quite deep, quite thought-provoking about life, lessons learned, choices in life, grabbing your opportunity when given the chance. Soul gets a big thumbs up for me. One of my favorite Pixar films. And I go as far as to say one of my favorite films of last year. Highly recommend Soul. I don't know if any of you've seen it. Really, really good. Enjoyable 1 hour, 40 minutes. You all ready for the last round? On New Year's Day, here we go. Round number 5. We're bringing back the gangster film, the crime genre. 10 questions. See how you fare with these. Final 10. Here we go. Number 1, gangster films. Name the American actor who plays the central role of character Henry Hill in Goodfellas. The film covers his life in the mob, his relationship with his wife Karen Hill, and his mob partners Jimmy Conway and Tommy DeVito. So I'm looking for the actor who plays the role of Henry Hill in Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas. What a film! The film covers his life in the mob, his relationship with his wife Karen Hill, and his partners in crime, Jimmy Conway, played by Robert De Niro, and Tommy DeVito, played by Joe Pesci. I'm looking for the name of the other actor. Number 2, a bit of comedy thrown in the mix from a comedy gangster movie with Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, and Ralph Fiennes, released in 2008. It's about a guilt-stricken after job goes wrong. A hitman and his partner await orders from his ruthless boss as they're left stranded in a city they don't want to be in. But tell me the name of the film. Number 2 again. I want you to name this comedy gangster movie with Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, and Ralph Fiennes, released in 2008. Guilt-stricken after a job goes wrong, a hitman and his partner await orders from their ruthless boss and are left stranded in a city they don't want to be in. What is the film? Okay, last round tonight. We move on to question number 3. Here we go. The film Brighton Rock, starring Richard Attenborough, was released in 1948. The film is adapted from a novel by which famous British author? So a film from the late 1940s, but I'm specifically looking for the name of the author. Here it is again. The film Brighton Rock, starring Richard Attenborough, was released in 1948. The film is adapted from a novel by which British author? Moving on to 4, on your gangster films, the last round of tonight, the final questions. Here we go. Name the actor who plays London gangster Jack Carter in the 1971 movie Get Carter. Bit of an easier one for the round. I want you to name the actor who plays London gangster Jack Carter in the 1971 movie Get Carter. Halfway through the round now with number 5. We're going to move on to a Chinese gangster film from 1986. Here's the question. A Better Tomorrow is a 1986 film about a reforming ex-gangster who tries to reconcile with his estranged policeman brother, but his ties to his former gang are hard to break. But name is Chinese-born director who crossed over to Hollywood, made a lot of mainstream Hollywood action movies. So I'm looking for the name of the filmmaker. The film for question 5 is A Better Tomorrow. It's a 1986 film about a reforming ex-gangster who tries to reconcile with his estranged policeman brother, but his ties to his former gang are hard to break. The name is Chinese-born director. Couple more left for the end of tonight's quiz. Answers will be revealed as usual at the end. Here's number 6. Which iconic American talent played corrupt police detective Hank Quinlan and also took on directing duties for the 1958 movie Touch of Evil? This is a great, I suppose you'd call it a B movie, sort of a film noir with a fantastic opening with a bomb being carried in the boot of a car. But the question is, which iconic American talent played corrupt police detective Hank Quinlan and also took on directing duties for the 1958 movie Touch of Evil. Number 7, if you were listening to a film that I watched this week, you'll instantly get this one. But number 7, name the 1990 movie directed by Abel Ferrara and starring Christopher Walken as a drug kingpin who is released from prison and seeks to take total control of the criminal underworld in order to give back to his community. Number 7, I want you to name the 1990 movie. It's directed by Abel Ferrara and it stars Christopher Walken. Walken plays a drug kingpin who is released from prison to seek total control of the criminal underworld in order to give back to the community. But what is this 1990 film? Move from a 1990 film release to an actor, but what is the actor's name? Here we go, number 8. Which famous actor won the Best Actor Oscar for his role as New York City cop Jimmy Doyle, or Popeye Doyle, in the Narcotics Bureau in William Friedkin's The French Connection? A great film from the early 70s by William Friedkin. But which famous actor won the Best Actor Oscar for his role as New York City cop Jimmy Doyle in the Narcotics Bureau in the movie The French Connection? 2 more left. We go from an actor's name, we go to the black and white classical era, the 1930s. Here we go, number 9. Name the actor who plays the violent gangster Tony, who climbs the ladder of success in the mob in the 1932 film version of Scarface. So I'm not looking for the Brian De Palma 80s version with Al Pacino. I'm looking for the Howard Hawks 1932 film version. Tricky question. But name the actor who plays the violent gangster Tony, who climbs the ladder of success in the mob in the 1932 film version of Scarface. And number 10, in fact, question number 50. This is the last question of the night. Here we go. Name the 1973 Martin Scorsese film about a small-time hood who tries to keep the peace between his friend Johnny and Johnny's creditors. It stars Harvey Keitel and a very young Robert De Niro. This is kind of an iconic cult movie from 1973. Here it is, question 10, the penultimate question of the night. We'll tally them up at the end. We'll see how you got on. Number 10, name the 1973 Martin Scorsese film about a small-time hood who tries to keep the peace between his friend Johnny and Johnny's creditors. It stars Harvey Keitel and a very young Robert De Niro. What is the name of the movie? Okay, the final 10 questions of tonight. The LA Cinema Film Quiz for a new year, 2021. Any of you need any repeating for this particular round? If so, let me know. In a minute, we'll reveal the answers. But let me know how you fared for this round. It was 10 questions on gangster and crime movies, a mix between the old and the new. Good round for Bikey Chick. I think she's also based in Bristol. Yeah, so in a minute we'll reveal the answers. A couple of little quick things I wanted to ask you. I know we've only got a few players tonight, but I'd be interested to hear your views. We had a round on George Clooney, the Hollywood star and director. I was going to ask you what your thoughts are on George Clooney. Do you like him as a star, a modern day star? He's been around, in fairness, in Hollywood for some time, also directing films. He has a new film released on Netflix, a science fiction movie, which was one of the questions tonight that will be revealed. I quite like Clooney, I got to be honest. I think he's a pretty good star, consistent. I think he's made a couple of good films, directed them, one of which I really like. Any thoughts on George Clooney, bikey chick, liking him? Yeah, he's done some good films, been very consistent over the years. Loads of films. Remember one he did a few years back I quite enjoyed called The Descendants. It's quite a good film, but there's one in particular I like. I love the film Good Night and Good Luck, which is an answer to one of the questions set during McCarthyism, the 1950s. The other thing I dug out this evening as well, we did a film on UK film censorship. I remember as a young teenager, probably about 16, 17, there was a film I really needed to see because of all the hype surrounding it and the controversy. But it was a film you couldn't even get your hands on in the UK. Why was that? Well, it was released in 1971. It passed the censors with no cuts, but the director felt threatened by the media hype surrounding the film, so-called copycat purported crimes, and felt that his life was at risk and his family's. So Stanley Kubrick withdrew A Clockwork Orange. For a long, long time, it wasn't released to the late 90s when Stanley died. I think the film would still be banned, not banned, but withdrawn if he was alive today. I just think he made that decision. But I managed to find a copy, my first ever VHS copy of A Clockwork Orange. I found this in the back of a magazine, an advert for £30, a Swedish subtitled copy. I remember putting this on. I was probably about 16, so too young to watch it. About 7 o'clock in the morning with great anticipation. So here's my VHS Clockwork Orange copy when the film was illegal to see in the UK. Changed world now. In pretty good condition considering it's a 1990 release. But yeah, we'll reveal the answers in just a sec. Yeah, Shirley saying she watched the Clooney film on Netflix this week. Can't think of the name of it. It's the answer to round one, question one. What did you think, Shirley? Because this is another film I was bitterly disappointed with, really underwhelmed by. I think it was made for good intention, but I felt on a television set, it just didn't do it justice with the visuals. But you'll find out what it was in just a second, because here's the answers. So round number one was George Clooney films. So George Clooney round. I asked you for question one, the Netflix film which Clooney directs and stars. The film is The Midnight Sky, Shirley. So it's Midnight Sky. And the actress who plays astronaut Sully is the British actress Felicity Jones. Midnight Sky and Felicity Jones. Shirley saying not all that keen on the film either. I didn't think it was bad. I just felt it didn't really go anywhere. Performances were okay. I thought a few of the actors were a little bit wasted, including Felicity. Number two, the film he directed, set during McCarthyism in the 50s. Now, this film was great. Good Night and Good Luck. Good Night and Good Luck. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director. It lost out. Good Night and Good Luck. Answer number two. Number three, Clooney won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role as a CIA operative. In which film? It was Syriana. Syriana, released in 2005. The director he didn't get on with and had a big on-set altercation with on the movie Three Kings was David O. Russell. David O. Russell, who's got a reputation for falling out with a lot of actors. He had a big bust up with Lily Tomlin on I Heart Huckabees. You can see the bust up on YouTube. It's pretty bad, to be honest. Number 5, Michelle Pfeiffer was his female co-star in the 1996 romantic comedy One Fine Day. So Michelle Pfeiffer. The B movie, Lee would have got this one, Mr. Baysheart, but he's gone to do his shopping. We'll forgive him. Return of the Killer Tomatoes, the B movie from 1987. The character he played in ER was question number 7. Is Dr. Doug Ross. Dr. Doug Ross, I wouldn't know that one. The film I described, the romantic comedy genre from 2009 by Jason Reitman, the director. Be directing Ghostbusters Afterlife coming up this year, hopefully. The film is Up in the Air, Up in the Air. Answer number 8. 9 was a tricky one. Clooney has worked with the Coen brothers on how many occasions? And name all the films. So the first answer, he's worked with them on 4 occasions, so 4 times. Here are the films. They are Hail Caesar, Burn After Reading, Intolerable Cruelty, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? So in order of the year where they released, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Intolerable Cruelty, Burn After Reading, and most recently, Hail Caesar. And the hardest question, name George Clooney's current wife, an international lawyer and human rights. Her name is Amal Clooney, or Amal Alamuddin. I can't pronounce that at all. So Amal Clooney. That's your first round. How did you get on with this one on your George Clooney films? Hopefully we got some high scores on this round. Then we'll move on to movie props. 10 answers for this one. And it was round number 2. Okay, so the answers for round number 2, movie props. Let's go with these. A boiled leather boot from a 1925 black and white comedy. It's The Gold Rush, Charlie Chaplin film, The Gold Rush, way back in 1925. Vikey Chick did well. Only one she struggled with was the Coen Brothers one. How many films? The umbrella from a famous dance sequence. I bet you all got this one. Famous Hollywood musical. Year was 1952. It's Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain, answer number 2. Number 3, Moses Stone Tablets from an epic adventure drama. It's the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. Number 4 was a little bit tricky. A shotgun microphone from a Brian De Palma film with John Travolta. The film is Blowout from 1981. Number 5, the identity disc from a sci-fi film. It was Tron. Tron is answer number 5. Number 6, the Raquel Welch movie poster from a prison drama from 94. It's the Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank Redemption, answer number 6. Answer number 7, the New York Herald Tribune t-shirt from a classic French New Wave film is Breathless. Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, or A Bout de Souffle. So, Breathless. Number 8, it was Amelie. Amelie's the answer, the Traveling Garden Gnome. Number 9, the Zoltar Speaks Wish Granting Machine. It's from a 1988 comedy drama, and it was Tom Hanks in Big. So Big is answer number 9. And answer number 10, the Spaghetti Straining Tennis Racket from a Best Picture Oscar winner, classic comedy, 1961. It's The Apartment with Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon. So The Apartment, answer number 10. Hope you did all right with that round. The movie props, I always enjoy that round. Here's the answer for number 3, which was films released this year. I keep forgetting we're in a new year. Question 1. The long-awaited comedy sequel was Coming to America. Coming to as in figure 2. So Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. Number 2 was 2 questions. I was looking for the new release date this year for the new 007 film, No Time to Die, and the Oscar-winning actor who plays Bond villain Safin. So the new release date is April 2nd in the UK, and the actor is Rami Malek. Rami Malek, who won the Best Actor Award at the Globes, the BAFTAs, and the Oscars for his role as Queen Rockstar and frontman Freddie Mercury. Number 3 is Nomadland, highly anticipated film with Frances McDormand. So number 3, Nomadland. Number 4, Emily Blunt's husband directs A Quiet Place 2. Who is he? It's John Krasinski. John Krasinski. Answer number 4. Answer 5 is Val Kilmer, of course, who will play the Iceman in July's release of the long-awaited sequel to Top Gun. It's Top Gun Maverick. So Val Kilmer, the answer. Jungle Cruise is the answer for number 6, a film starring Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson. Number 6. Number 7, who is the Oscar-winning actress who will play soul legend Aretha Franklin for the new biopic Respect? The actress is Jennifer Hudson. So Jennifer Hudson is answer number 7. Number 8, I was asking for the original year that David Lynch's film version of Dune was released. Denis Villeneuve's will hopefully be released in October this year. But Lynch's film came out in 1984. So 1984. Number 9, I wanted you to tell me the next chapter of the Halloween series. The full title, it's Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills. And the final answer is Peter Jackson, who directs the anticipated documentary on the Beatles, featuring footage from the feature film Let It Be. So Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings man. I hope you got on okay with that round. We'll move on to the trickiest round, I'd say, of the night, which was UK film censorship. How did everyone fare for your last round? 9's a good score, really good score from Bikey Chick, who got a 6 for the last round. UK film censorship. 2 answers for question number 1. What does BBFC stand for? I think you probably all got this. It's British Board of Film Classification. And the year it was founded, I wouldn't have a clue when it was. 1912. 1912, British Board of Film Classification. The term used to describe the films I mentioned that bypassed the BBFC, films like Cannibal Apocalypse, The Driller Killer, and Zombie Flesh Eaters, they were coined as video nasties or video nasty. They go for arm and a leg if you got them pre-certificated. I think I mentioned a friend of mine was selling them, these cassette tapes, for anything from 150 quid to 200 pounds for a videotape. It's crazy. Okay, so Clockwork Orange was withdrawn in 1973, only in the UK and Ireland, due to receiving death threats, Stanley Kubrick. It was eventually re-released in UK cinemas after his death in 1999. 1999, the year. Number 3. Number 4, the controversial Pasolini film from 1976 was Salo, also known as 120 Days of Sodom. So Salo Answer number 4. That was a film I watched during the lockdown. I was going to mention it on one of the broadcasts. I watched it about 3-4 months ago. Oh, I don't know if any of you have seen it. Certainly an experience. Number 5, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the cult horror film which eventually received a video and cinema re-release in 1999. Number 6 was a hard one. The BBFC director from 1975 to 1999, an American called James Furman. Natural Born Killers was the film that didn't receive a video release in 1996 due to the Dunplain Massacre. It was Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers. The act that was passed in 1984 that commercial video recordings had to be certificated for sale or for rental was called the Video Recordings Act. So the Video Recordings Act passed through British Parliament in 1984. Number 9 is The Human Centipede 2, initially banned by the BBFC in 2011, but cuts were made to the film to receive a certificate. The Human Centipede 2, answer number 9. And number 10, I wouldn't know this one at all. The current director of the BBFC is David Austin. He was appointed in 2016. It'd be his 5th year in the role as the BBFC's director. Hardest round of the night. I enjoyed doing that one, I got to be honest. Brought back memories of some of those controversial films, and even dug out me Clockwork Orange Swedish copy from back in the 90s. Shame I haven't got a video recorder to put it on. Okay. Last one was gangster films. 10 questions. Answer number 1 is Ray Liotta. He plays the role of Henry Hill in Goodfellas. Answer 1, Ray Liotta. Number 2 was In Bruges, is the film, comedy gangster movie with Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson and Ralph Fiennes. So funny, highly recommend this one, In Bruges. Yeah, Bikey Chick's right, it's a hard round. Four's not a bad score. It was probably the hardest round of the night. Number 3, it's Graham Greene, the author who wrote Brighton Rock. It's a 1948 film starring British actor Richard Attenborough. So Graham Greene, the famous British novelist. Number 4, I'm going to do a bad impression. It was Michael Caine. Plays Get Carter, the London gangster Jack Carter in the 1971 film. Michael Caine. Number 5, that was bad. The Chinese-born director who went on to be quite prolific in Hollywood, making films such as Face Off and Wind Talkers, is John Woo, who directed A Better Tomorrow, the 1986 Chinese film. John Woo. Number 6, one of my all-time favourites, the genius of the cinema. It was Orson Welles that played a sleazy, corrupt detective called Quinlan, and also directed the movie Touch of Evil. Orson Welles. Number 7, I mentioned this film. I watched it this week. Underwhelmed, to say the least. The film, Christopher Walken, is King of New York. King of New York. Answer number 7. Number 8 was the great Gene Hackman that played Popeye Doyle, or shall I say Jimmy Doyle, a New York cop employed by the Narcotics Bureau in the brilliant William Friedkin film, The French Connection. Gene Hackman. Answer number 8. Number 9 was a hard one. You got to know your old Hollywood films from the black and white classic era. An actor who doesn't really get mentioned much, but it's Paul Mooney, who plays a gangster called Tony in the original Howard Hawks version of Scarface from 1932. Answer number 9 again, Paul Mooney. And the last one of the night, the penultimate question. Did you get it right? Gangster films, the Scorsese film, it's an early one for him, 1973. A young Harvey Keitel and a very young Robert De Niro. But what was the film? It's about a man trying to keep the peace between his friend Johnny and Johnny's creditors. And the film is Mean Streets. Mean Streets, the final one of tonight. Yeah, In Bruges is such a funny film. Love In Bruges. Remember seeing it at the cinema, not knowing what to expect, and thoroughly enjoyed it. A really good 2 hours. Quite a violent film, but so funny. Some really good black comedy humor. Some good performances from Colin Farrell. He's a little bit underrated in my view. Brendan Gleeson's always good money. And so's Ralph Fiennes. He's always good, Ralph Fiennes. Surprised he's yet to win the Oscar for performance in films like English Patient and Schindler's List. How did we get on with tonight's quiz? Always a tricky one to do one on a New Year's Day. Not so big numbers playing tonight's quiz, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Hope you got on well. Bikey Chick got a really good score for this round. An 8, a good score for the final round. She likes her gangster films, don't we all? Okay, so with New Year, 2021, a long year ahead. Hopefully things are going to change. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I'm not so positive. I think this could go on for a couple of years, the situation we're in at the moment, but that's just my opinion. Good score from Bikey Chick, a total of 40 tonight. Thanks for tuning in again. Thanks for your support. I was going to ask, we've been doing this, the second lockdown quiz for 7 weeks now. Numbers a little bit less tonight than the last couple of weeks. But do you want another quiz next week? Do you want us to continue, or are you happy for us to maybe bring it back another time? What are your thoughts? Obviously, let us know on the live chat, or also we're on the Facebook page, Twitter. I don't know if any of you follow us on our LA Cinema Facebook page. And if we come back again next week, next Friday, any suggestions for a theme or anything you'd like to see differently or any different rounds, let me know. And have a good week. Happy New Year once again to you all. I hope you had a good festive season as well. Yeah, in fairness, I think New Year's Day is always a tricky one. There's a few of you on. Maybe some of you are not doing it through the TV. I don't know how you tune in, most of you, on a laptop or whatever. Richard Donner films, I like that. The Superman director. Is he still alive, Richard Donner? Not sure. Well, yeah, if you know anyone who loves their films, who wants to take part in the weekly quiz, do pass on the details. Thanks for your ongoing support. And we'll finish up. 2021 film quiz. LA Film, of course. We'll see you next week then. It'll be same time. It'll be same place. As I find out Richard Donner is still alive and well. We wish him well. But I'll finish you off with one little thing, just to bore you. I had a really nice present for Christmas. It put a big smile on my face. If you want to see the video, I did upload it to the Facebook page, but I'm more than willing to play it next week. It might make you laugh. So a friend of mine, we always talk about films, anything movie related. And we got something in common. We're big Stanley Kubrick fans. We always talk about Kubrick, stories, anecdotes, films. We just love his films. We love 2001, and we love Barry Lyndon, which for me is one of his best films. But we share the odd thing that we really do like A Clockwork Orange, which isn't a film you should really say you like. It's controversial, it's bleak, it's very powerful. But we always say that we think that Malcolm McDowell gives the best performance by a lead actor in a Stanley Kubrick film. I know there's been other great performances, James Mason in Lolita, Kirk Douglas in Powers of Glory, Jack Nicholson in The Shining. But for me and my friend Kirk in Bristol, we think that he just owns that film, Malcolm. So we're Malcolm McDowell fans. So as a little present, my friend gave me a video on Christmas Day of a personal greeting from Malcolm McDowell. He obviously paid for this from a website. You can get personal greetings from entertainment stars, actors, and so on. And Malcolm basically gives me a message mentioning both James, my name, and Kirk's, wishing us all the best. He basically says that I need to get my finger out my ass and start doing a movie podcast, which I've been planning to do for a few years, interviews with people in film. And he also gives us a little story about A Clockwork Orange. He had a chat with the novelist, Anthony Burgess, on the set and said, how did you come up with the name of A Clockwork Orange, the title? And he said he was in a bar, drinking at the bar, and a guy came in, and the barman said, he's a funny guy, that guy. He's as queer as a clockwork orange. And Malcolm said to him, why choose the title then? He said, I just thought it was a great quote, sounded like a great title. So yeah, if you want to see this little video, it's on the Facebook thing. It's quite funny. It did put a smile on my face, a nice Christmas festive present, something different. I can show you the video next week if you're interested. Anyway, I love you and leave you. Thanks for tuning in tonight. A bit of movie waffle there and name dropping. I'm certainly not on good friends terms with Malcolm McDowell. Anyway, I'll let you get on. Thanks for tuning in. It's the LA Cinema Film Quiz. Happy New Year. See you next week. 8:30. More action. Good night. Thank you and stay safe.